Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. For those who have been following the news about the CCP virus or COVID-19 pandemic, you must have heard about the dangerous gain-of-function experiments conducted in the Wuhan lab. You might have also wondered what other crazy things the CCP has done. Well, today I will tell you one of them, that is, raising genetically modified pigs, harvesting their organs, and transplanting them into human beings. Sounds crazy? The truth is, a huge site as large as nearly 17 acres has been built in Sichuan province to produce such pigs on a large scale, and some of them have already been sent to a certain hospital of the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences to be used for heart transplant research. Before I move on, I'd like to announce that from now on, I will try to take some questions after I finish talking about what I plan to talk about. So if you want to ask questions, please type them in the chat box toward the end of my talk, and I will see if I have an answer for you. Please also subscribe to and share my channel if you haven't. Now, let's move on to our topic today. Let's see a picture of the site I just mentioned. The red Chinese characters say Inconvenient biotechnology site for medical purpose pigs. I guess the word colon organ is a combination of the two words colon and organ, which means they are clone pigs to harvest their organs. Colon organ biotechnology is a company in Chengdu City, Sichuan province in China. Its website homepage has this sentence on it: building the organ factory of the future. Xenotransplantation changes the future. If you don't know what xenotransplantation is, please look at the screen. It is a medical procedure whereby animal organs are transplanted into humans. Anyway, the site of clone organ biotechnology has a variety of functional areas of pig breeding and operating rooms, labs, etc. It is also, quote, a high-standard test base for pigs for medical purposes as well as an organ factory, unquote. A report of Sichuan Daily said this base now has more than 200 pigs with more than 10 kinds of genetic modifications. The report also said that a few days ago, a batch of pigs for medical purposes were shipped from the base to a certain hospital of the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences to be used for heart transplant research. Pan Dengke, the founder of clone organ biotechnology, said that this kind of scale and factory production of genetically modified pigs could ensure sufficient supply for xenotransplantation. And the price is cheaper than human organs, he said, and I quote, human organs transplants cost 300,000 to 400,000 yuan, that is 47,000 to 62,000 US dollars, while the pricing for xenotransplantation is definitely going to be lower than that. What do you think when you hear him say that? Why do human organ transplants cost more? Do they buy human organs? If not, why would human organs cost more than pig organs if human organs are donated free of charge? The answer is, actually, in CCP's China, organ transplantation has become a billion-dollar industry. You can get an organ in 2 weeks or even on the same day if you pay enough money. They kill human beings, many prisoners of conscience, such as Falun Gong practitioners and Uyghurs, and sell their organs. While hospitals make huge money by selling organs, I guess they have to buy the organs as the raw material from somewhere else, such as the prison system. That's why Pandenke said human organ transplants cost more than xenotransplantation. That's why the idea of raising pigs for medical purposes is so amazing and attractive to those so-called scientists. This picture from Sichuan Daily explained how they do it. First, abstract pig cells from the pigs. Next, knock out GAL antigens from the pig cells. Then knock out pig cells from the GAL antigens. Then insert some human genes to it. Then clone this cell to produce genetically modified pigs. The whole idea is about knocking out elements in the pig cells that were rejected by the human's immune system. Another important aspect was to knock out some kind of endogenous retroviruses to eliminate the risk of virus transmission from pigs to humans. That has been achieved in 2017 already. In 2019, Pandenke's team transplanted the kidneys of genetically engineered pigs into monkeys and kept the monkeys alive for 32 days while using human clinical immunosuppressants, which are some types of drugs used to suppress the rejection of the immune system. Pan said this had set a global record for the longest survival of an allogeneic kidney transplant under the same conditions. Allogeneic transplant means transplant between different species. According to Pan, pigs were chosen as the source of human organ transplants instead of monkeys because pigs' organs are similar in size and function to those of humans, and pigs have a short breeding cycle and high reproduction rate. Another reason is that compared to more intelligent monkeys and orangutans, pigs have fewer ethic issues such as animal rights, and there are no endangered animal protection issues, etc. Also, for Chinese people, because pork is a main part of their daily meat, they are more tolerant of the practice of killing pigs and using pigs' organs than people in Western countries. However, Pan may have overlooked the fact that Chinese culture has a lot to say about the spirituality of human beings. So what a transplanted pig heart can bring to a human being may not be as simple as avoiding the transfer of a virus to the human body. What do you think about this? Please feel free to type in a comment. Another team that has been vigorously pursuing this technology is Yang Luhan and her mentor at Harvard Medical School, Professor George Church. Let's see a picture of Yang and a report about her research. So this is Yang Luhan. Now let's show picture 8. This is a picture of George Church and a report about his research. The CCP mouthpiece Xinhua published a special feature in last September saying that Chinese scientists had made another breakthrough in xenotransplantation technology in genetically edited pigs, and this report mainly features Yang Luhan. The report said that the team of Yang Luhan, she is a founder of Qihan Biotech in Hangzhou City, China, and a co-founder and chief scientist of gene editing company eGenesis in Boston, and had created a xenograft with clinical potential, successfully solving two major safety challenges: resolving some sort of retroviruses from pigs and enhancing its immunocapability. Such a long word. Please look at the screen if you don't understand me. Yang's research was also published in Nature Biomedical Engineering last September. Co-authors of this paper include Sichuan Biotech, Harvard University, Massachusetts General Hospital, Genetically in Boston, and Yunnan Agricultural University in China. Prior to this, there had been several technological breakthroughs in genetically modifying pigs to make their organs more suitable for human transplantation, several of which resulted from the work of Professor George Church. In 2015, Yang, along with Church, founded eGenesis in Boston, which received $38 million and then $100 million in 2 rounds of funding in 2017 and 2019, and another $125 million in March this year in a 3rd investment round. In 2017, eGenesis announced that it had produced the world's first genetically modified pigs that do not carry endogenous retroviruses, eliminating the risk of virus transmission from pigs to humans. And in 2018, eGenesis produced the first engineered pig, reducing the immune rejection of pig organ transplants. In addition to the above 2 issues, there was another technical challenge of functional compatibility. It was not yet known whether the pig organ could perform the hormonal and metabolic balance functions of the original human organ after transplantation. After resolving these problems, the next step was to conduct a large number of clinical trials. First, pig organs would be transplanted onto monkeys. Next, clinical trials would need to be done on human transplants. However, the commercialization of pig xenotransplantation faced ethical and regulatory challenges, such as the privacy of transplant recipients, allocation of resources, animal rights, distributive justice, and the potential public health risk to humans due to the retrovirus in pigs, and the public and religious acceptance of transplanting animal organs to humans. The first few items can be resolved through specific improvements and strict regulation, but xenotransplantation seriously increases the risk to public health, while diseases, public acceptance of transplanting animal organs into human beings varies widely given cultural and religious backgrounds. When these challenges became too difficult to resolve, China provided an opportunity because in China, ethical and legal regulations significantly lag behind technological development. Relevant researchers were then moved to China to continue the work. In 2017, Yang Luhan and Church co-founded Sichuan Biotech in China with the mission to leverage CRISPR technology to make xenotransplantation a routine medical procedure for the delivery of safe and effective human transplantable cells, tissues, and organs. The timing was exactly when clinical trials needed to begin, a stage where ethic review was generally more strict than in the research phase. Yang Luhan said to Xinhua in 2019, and I quote, "Technological advances are often ahead of regulation, ethic norms, and public acceptance. All technological advances whereby they can be applied to certain scenarios and under what circumstances they can be applied to those scenarios must be explored on an ongoing basis in order to develop a useful framework that will truly drive technology to change society, unquote. So, did you get her message? Basically, she was saying that because technology advances are often ahead of regulations, it is okay to just go ahead with whatever technological advances that she believes are useful and can change society. It is indeed the case that the global ethical regulation of new biotechnology, such as xenotransplantation, is generally lagging behind technological development. However, compared to China's virtually non-existent and opaque ethic review, the corresponding legal regulations and ethical supervision in the United States are relatively strict. In areas where regulations have not yet caught up, Western research and development generally try not to touch on the more ethical and controversial topics. And you know what? Unlike the US regulations on genetic modification, which come from the Food and Drug Administration (FDA), the CCP's ethical biomedical review is adopted and implemented by the CCP's National Health and Family Planning Commission, the same agency that has killed hundreds of millions of unborn babies in China over the past 40 years through its controversial one-child policy. So, don't you think it is a joke to have such an agency to regulate the ethical issues of genetic modification? Despite the numerous controversies surrounding xenotransplantation, the CCP has shown strong support. For example, in addition to the financial support and the publicity of CCP media, Yang Luhan was selected as one of the World Economic Forum's 2017 Young Global Leaders and was added to Fortune's China's Most Influential Women in Business 2020. Meanwhile, the projects that Pan Dengke has been involved in are all funded by the CCP's key official funds, including the National Key Basic Research and Development Plan, the National High Technology Research and Development Program, and the Beijing Natural Science Foundation, etc. Qihan Biotech in Hangzhou is a sister company of Genesis. On March 29th this year, the company raised an additional 67 million in Series A financing with the participation of its strategic investors, including Lilly Asia Ventures and Metix Partners China, as well as its existing shareholders Sequoia Capital and China Merchant Bank. Altogether, it has received more than 100 million investments. Also, according to Chinese media, in 2020, gene editing related startups in China alone received about 2 billion yuan, that is about $310 million in funding. So, what are you thinking after learning all of this? For many things, especially controversial studies such as the xenotransplantation, gene editing we talk about, there seems to be a certain pattern. Chinese scientists learn technology from the West or do the research together with Western scientists. Then, when there are things they cannot do in Western countries, they take the technology back to China and continue to do the research there. Sometimes the West even directly gives money to Chinese scientists for them to do such dangerous and controversial studies. We now all know that the US National Institutes of Health give $600,000 to Wuhan lab to study whether banned coronavirus could be transmitted to humans. And banned woman Zeng once worked with the University of North Carolina to study the ability of a banned coronavirus surviving and evolving to thrive in a human cell. Also, for the billion-dollar forced organ harvesting business in China, almost all the Chinese doctors who may have killed hundreds of thousands or even millions of people in the past 22 years all learned their skills from the West. And some Western companies keep selling drugs to China and make huge money, as these drugs are needed after the organ transplant. So, what I want to say to the world is, with the CCP's evil nature, it doesn't have respect for human life or any kind of lives. It dares to do anything. The West is also guilty if it still doesn't recognize the CCP's evil and continues to work with the CCP. Why is the entire world suffering now? Everything has its consequences, including appeasing and aiding the CCP. Well, that's all what I plan to say for today. Now, let me see if any of you have any questions. If you have any, type in the chat box and I'm checking them now. So Dave the Inhuman says, hi Jennifer, I've been studying ideological subversion and its effects on the US. What your opinion of the leftists in this country and the fact that they just eat up the CCP propaganda? Yes, I think in last May or June, when there were a huge round of protests in US, I did a program which is comparing the Cultural Revolution in China to what was happening in the US now. I think recently a lot of other Chinese migrants started to talk about the same issue as well, because we experienced what happened in China. So what we are seeing in the US now seems very similar to China, such as to give everyone a class category and to divide the society and have people to fight against themselves or amongst themselves. Though here in the US, maybe we are given a category based on not on their class, social class, but on their races or skin colors. It's the same kind of concept and idea. And the socialism and communism and have, I think, a common feature, which is give you a lot of beautiful words such as equality, equal happiness for everyone. But the reality is, if you look at the practice, what really the communism and socialism have brought to China, I think what accompany the communism is killing, poverty, and loss of dignity, and I think, terrifying decline of morality. That is why the CCP is doing this kind of crazy, you can say, research or study or experiments in China now. So that's my idea. So seems we don't have any more questions now. Okay, maybe we wrap up here today, and thank you so much for participating in my live show, and I'll see you on Thursday. Bye.